His appearance was swift, almost whirlwind-like. He burst into her world like a storm, sweeping everyone away. She let him into her soul, allowed him to become part of her thoughts, dreams, and fears. But the stronger their connection grew, the more Jessica felt. Behind this light lurked darkness, and behind tenderness, destruction. And when everything around began to collapse, retribution was not long in coming. The price of illusions. Lily, hi. Where are you? I'm already at the pyramid. Got a table by the window just like we agreed. Jessica pressed her phone to her ear, trying to speak over the gentle hum of the restaurant. On the other end, her friend sighed apologetically. Jessica, I'm so sorry. I got stuck in the worst traffic. I have no idea how long I'll be here. Maybe 40 minutes, maybe an hour, or even more. Just order something for yourself in the meantime. Okay. Well, that's great news, Jessica chuckled. All right, Lily, I'll wait. What else can I do? Jessica had come to the exhibition in the big city from her quiet province. The first day had been busy and a bit exhausting. In the evening, she just wanted to relax and chat with Lily, whom she hadn't seen in almost a year. She put her phone down and looked around. The restaurant was pleasant. Jessica ordered a berry drink and, to pass the time, immersed herself in notes she'd taken during today's presentations. Excuse me, miss, but why is such a charming lady sitting here all alone? Jessica flinched and looked up. In front of her stood a man of about 35 at least, in a perfectly tailored suit that must have cost a fortune. His smile was disarming, though Jessica tried to remain cautious. She didn't really like such sudden encounters, especially in an unfamiliar city. I'm waiting for a friend, she replied politely but reservedly, avoiding his gaze. The man was not at all put off by her tone. Allow me to introduce myself, William. His voice was soft and inviting like velvet. And may I ask your name? Maybe I can help make your wait more pleasant. He spoke so charmingly that it felt awkward to refuse. And Lily, it seemed, really would be a while. Jessica, she answered shortly, still feeling a bit tense. William immediately, as if it were the most natural thing, sat down at her table. Very nice to meet you, Jessica. Do you mind if I keep you company? Your friend might not arrive for another hour. Jessica was a bit taken aback by his confidence. She'd always been wary of the city's elite. She'd heard too many stories about such encounters. But William was all charm. He didn't push, spoke easily and interestingly, asked about the exhibition. He showered her with compliments, but did so gracefully that Jessica's cheeks still began to burn. Perhaps some wine, he suggested, as if it were the most natural thing. To our acquaintance. Without waiting for an answer, he signaled to the waiter. A minute later, the waiter respectfully placed a tall glass with a pink drink in front of her. Jessica glanced at the label on the bottle in the waiter's hands. The name was unfamiliar, but it looked like it cost several months of her salary. Time passed, her friend still hadn't arrived, and her phone was silent. Jessica began to worry and get ready to leave. I think something happened to my friend. I should go, she said, standing up. I'll give you a ride, William immediately offered, also standing. Where do you need to go? To your hotel. Thank you, but that's not necessary. I can manage. It's not far, Jessica tried to refuse. Riding with a barely acquainted man, even one so courteous, was not in her plans. But William didn't seem to be backing down. As soon as they stepped outside, a sleek black car, the kind Jessica had only seen in movies, smoothly pulled up to the curb. The uniformed driver immediately opened the back door. Please, I just want to make sure you get to your hotel safely. Besides, you're worried about your friend. He lowered his voice playfully. If you don't agree, I swear I'll call the police to escort you. For your own peace of mind. That's not a problem. William responded immediately. Let's invite your friend too. I'm sure she'll enjoy it. Jessica politely but firmly tried to refuse. Thank you, but maybe another time. We have our own plans. She hung up, feeling a bit awkward about his persistence. Around noon, when Jessica left the house, the same black car was waiting at the entrance. The driver in a formal suit was already opening the back door. William quickly got out, holding a luxurious bouquet of huge, velvety roses of such a rich color and size that Jessica had only seen in glossy magazines. Each flower was a work of art, and the whole bouquet must have cost a fortune. Jessica was stunned. She stood there, not knowing what to say or how to act. The extravagance both impressed and frightened her. William, with his familiar charming smile, approached her. See, and you said another time, he gently chided. Come on, give me your friend's address. Let's make her day too. Still a bit overwhelmed by the bouquet and William's persistence, Jessica gave Lily's address. What else could she do? Refusing this man seemed impossible. The luxury car glided silently through the streets. Lily, seeing Jessica in such company and with such a bouquet, was speechless at first, then bombarded her friend with questions, to which Jessica could only shrug. Soon they arrived at a private pier. On the calm river, numerous yachts bobbed, from small boats to an impressive river steamer, brightly painted and ready for a cruise. The driver in a formal suit quickly opened the doors. Nearby, at the start of the pier, several people were waiting, 2 of them in smart naval uniforms. Mr. Miller, everything is ready as you requested, one of them reported, standing at attention. They walked along the wooden pier, accompanied by the welcoming party, led by the ship's captain himself. Approaching the edge, Jessica instinctively turned toward the cute river steamer. It seemed the most logical choice for a cruise. But one of William's people politely called out, "This way, please," and gestured toward a huge, gleaming white yacht. It was so luxurious and majestic that it seemed to outshine all the other vessels. Lily froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. She looked at the yacht, then at Jessica, then back at the yacht. "Unbelievable," she gasped, grabbing Jessica's hand. "Am I dreaming? Or are we really in Monaco?" They sailed on this incredible yacht, which, as it turned out, was prepared just for the 3 of them. No other passengers, complete privacy. On the open deck, a refined table was already set with an incredible array of delicacies, fruits, and drinks. The waiter in a spotless uniform appeared silently whenever they wanted anything. The whole next week flew by like this. During the day, Jessica was busy with work. In the evenings, William awaited her. Walks through the shady alleys of an old park, an elite nightclub with a private VIP box, reserved only for the most important guests, dinners at restaurants where tables were booked months in advance. William was incredibly courteous, a true gentleman. He didn't rush things, kept a respectful distance, and surrounded her with such care and attention that Jessica had only read about in romance novels. Gradually, the ice of distrust in Jessica's heart began to melt. She found herself more and more drawn to this extraordinary man. But Jessica had to return home to her measured life. Before she left, William made her an offer she couldn't refuse, a week of vacation in a warm, sunny country. A light but thrilling goodbye kiss at the train car sealed the promise. And Jessica left, taking with her not only pleasant memories of the capital, but also a trembling anticipation of a fairy tale. Exactly a week later, after barely managing to arrange unpaid leave, Jessica and William were already basking under the gentle sun at an exotic resort. It was there, far from the hustle and bustle and prying eyes, that their real, dizzying romance began. One evening, chatting with Lily over video call, Jessica shared her impressions. "Jess, you're living the dream," her friend squealed on the screen. "Just don't drown in all that happiness." Lily kept showering her with excited exclamations, genuinely happy for her friend. Jessica herself felt how she was falling in love. William had truly swept her off her feet. His direct, sometimes a bit high-handed actions were disarming in their decisiveness. And the incredible attention he gave her made her feel unique and irreplaceable. He seemed to anticipate her every glance, every fleeting wish. Even there on the Paradise Island, William, gently hugging her at sunset by the shore, began persuading Jessica. "Why do you need that job of yours? What are you still doing there? Drop everything and move in with me to the capital. You'll forget what an alarm clock and your boss even are." Of course, Jessica wasn't ready for such radical changes. With great difficulty, blushing and stammering in front of her strict boss, she managed to get another 2 weeks off. "Mrs. Smith, please try to understand. Just 2 more weeks, I'll make up for it all, I promise," she pleaded over the phone, standing on the balcony overlooking the azure ocean. "Darling, I'm going to the pool," Jessica called out cheerfully. They were sunbathing on comfortable loungers by a huge, sparkling pool. This was no longer just a hotel, but William's dazzling white, luxurious villa surrounded by greenery, with staff, a personal chef, a gardener, and an endless view of the sea. In her new striking swimsuit, Jessica easily got up and walked toward the inviting coolness of the water. Her long light brown hair cascaded over her shoulders. Her sculpted figure, beautiful rounded chest, and golden skin, already kissed by a light palm tan. She looked like a nymph from an ancient fresco. A few meters from the pool, William's driver, Jack, a young man of about 25, was carefully polishing the already gleaming car. He couldn't help but look up and freeze, admiring Jessica's graceful walk. He always tried to stay unnoticed, in the shadow of his influential boss, but now he simply couldn't take his eyes off her. Even that first evening when she got into the car and he drove them to her hotel, Jack had glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Jessica didn't just catch his eye. She immediately deeply touched his heart. William, lazily watching Jessica dive gracefully into the water, also glanced at the driver. His face instantly twisted in disgust. "Hey you!" he barked so loudly that Jack flinched. "What are you staring at? I pay you to drive, not to gawk. If I see it again, you're fired. Got it?" Jack flinched, turned pale, and immediately lowered his gaze, swallowing hard. "Sorry, Mr. Miller," he muttered quietly, scrubbing the car even harder, his hands trembling slightly. Jessica, surfacing at the edge of the pool and wiping water from her face, became an unwitting witness to this unpleasant scene. She got out of the pool and approached William, wrapping herself in a towel. "Darling, why did you do that? So what if he looked my way? It happens. There's no need to shout like that." William turned to her sharply, his eyes still flashing with anger. He wasn't used to being corrected. "He'll live. He gets paid. He should do his job and stay out of sight. There's a line of people like him waiting at the gate if he doesn't like it." He waved his hand dismissively. "And anyway, Jessica, this is my business and my staff. You don't need to get involved. Don't ruin my mood over this nonsense." This cold, almost commanding tone and the condescending nonsense hurt Jessica more than the shouting at the driver. The image of the caring, attentive, and kind William she had so carefully painted in her mind now had its first very noticeable crack. A cold, uneasy feeling stirred in her soul. The next morning, Jessica woke up with a heavy heart. Yesterday's scene by the pool wouldn't leave her mind. William, noticing her dull gaze and forced smile, approached her as she drank coffee on the terrace. In his hands was a small velvet box. "Baby, don't be mad at me." He looked into her eyes apologetically. "I yelled yesterday, lost my temper. You know, work stress, nerves sometimes get the best of me." He opened the box. Inside, on a satin cushion, lay an elegant gold amulet in the shape of a little scorpion with a heart. The chain was also gold. With a deft movement, William put the necklace around her neck. "It looks beautiful on you," he whispered, his fingers brushing her skin, giving her goosebumps. Then he took the pendant and pressed the heart. It split into two halves, and from one side a tiny USB drive appeared. "Jessica, this isn't just a flash drive," his voice softened. "It has the best moments from our trip together. The originals." Jessica, embarrassed. "The originals? What about you? Won't you have anything left?" William, gently touching the pendant on her neck. "You'll be the keeper, baby. And if I ever need them, I'll get them from you. The main thing is that you have them." Jessica was a little embarrassed by such an expensive and unexpected gift. His words, his touch, the shine of gold. She felt her resentment over William's outburst slowly fading. After all, he had apologized. Later, they were driving in the car. William was animatedly talking to someone on the phone, gesturing with his free hand. Yes, the right approach, we'll do it. Harry will drop by and discuss everything. Yes, old connections are a great thing." Jessica tried not to listen, but snatches of conversation caught her ear. They arrived at a house as luxurious and grand as William's villa. High fences, perfect lawns, marble steps. William went up to his friends for an important conversation, and Jessica offered to walk through the spacious alleys with fragrant flowers and exotic shrubs on the estate. Through the beautifully kept garden, where two gardeners greeted her respectfully, she walked around the house and came to the garages. Several expensive cars stood there, including the one they had arrived in. Nearby, Jessica saw Jack. He was again diligently polishing the car. Noticing Jessica approaching, Jack immediately turned away and started polishing even more intensely, avoiding her gaze. There was no one else around. Jessica paused for a moment, feeling awkward. She remembered his look yesterday, the brief moment by the pool. There was no insolence in it, rather, something else, almost admiration, but quickly hidden by fear. That's what made her, despite William's rudeness, try to speak to him now. "Jack, I'm sorry about what happened," she began quietly. "William, he's not a bad person. I'm sure he didn't mean it." Jack only glanced at her briefly and then stared at the hood again, deliberately ignoring her attempt at conversation. But Jessica noticed his eyelashes tremble before he looked away. After a short pause, Jessica didn't give up. For some reason, she really wanted to know more about this sullen young man, in whose eyes she saw something genuine. Have you worked for William long? Her voice was gentle. Jack finally stopped polishing and looked at Jessica from under his brows, with a kind of hidden sadness. No, he muttered, his voice muffled. Not even a year yet. Do you like it here? Are you happy? Jessica asked carefully, not wanting to scare off his honesty. Yes, it's fine, Jack nodded, but there was no joy in his eyes. The pay here, other drivers can only dream of it. And the conditions are good. Suddenly his face darkened. He sighed heavily and looked down. Everything's fine. Just, we shouldn't talk. I can't lose this job, you understand. If the boss sees, then that's it. I can't. He glanced at her quickly, and Jessica saw real panic in his eyes. But behind that panic she thought she saw something else. Maybe regret. Please don't come near me. My mother is sick. I really need this job. And it's better for you to not to. After these words, spoken with such despair and that barely perceptible hint of concern not only for himself but for her, Jessica stopped trying to talk to Jack. She nodded silently and slowly walked away, feeling a new wave of anxiety and doubt rising inside her. The next day, Jessica waited a long time for William at breakfast. This was unusual for him. When he didn't show up, she went out to the summer veranda and began to eat alone, admiring the garden. The sun was already high when William finally appeared on the veranda, swaying slightly. He looked disheveled and clearly unwell, as if after a wild night and heavy drinking. His face was tense and drawn. Suddenly his phone rang sharply. William snatched it up irritably. Jessica could only hear snatches of his furious whisper. So why did you send everything to him? Idiots. What? There are problems there too. You know what? It's your mess. Deal with it yourselves. I said yours. No. I'm broke myself. He forcefully ended the call and slumped into a chair next to Jessica, wiping large beads of sweat from his forehead. Jessica tried to talk to him. Darling, is something wrong? You don't seem yourself. Jessica had never seen William in such a state. His face twisted with anger. She instinctively stopped eating, watching William tensely. He, as if nothing had happened, began to stuff food into his mouth greedily, chewing loudly and ignoring everyone around him. After swallowing a bite, he said in a completely calm voice, not even looking at Jessica, "Don't worry. Everything's under control. Just work stuff." He gave her a crooked grin. Something inside Jessica shuddered and went cold. The man who had been so caring and kind was now rapidly showing his other, darker side. The next moment, Jack, William's driver, approached the table very quietly, almost on tiptoe. "What do you want?" William snapped, not even turning toward Jack. "Mr. Miller, my mother was taken to the hospital. I need to go to her, it's really urgent." William, still chewing, muttered with his mouth full, "No. Later. First to the notary, then you can go wherever you want." Jack, clearly suppressing anger and despair, almost ground out through his teeth, "Okay. The car is ready." William seemed to ignore his words completely. After a painfully long 30 minutes, William finally got into the car. They headed to the notary. In the car, Jessica, turned toward the window, kept replaying the morning's scenes in her mind. She couldn't understand what had happened to William. Was this his real face, which he had hidden so well, or just a temporary breakdown? They drove through several blocks, then onto the ring road. And of course got stuck in traffic. Jessica saw in the rearview mirror Jack's gray, exhausted face, and next to her, the smug, arrogant face of William, the master of life, constantly glued to his phone. About 2 hours later, as they pulled up to a tall office building, apparently where the lawyer was, William's phone rang again. He picked it up sharply. Yes. What? Didn't I tell you? Just sit tight and don't panic, got it. Then he yelled at the driver, "To Harry's. Now." Jack bowed his head in resignation. "Mr. Miller, you promised me. I need to see my mother. She's alone there." "Listen, you." William roared, turning his whole body toward him. "I have problems. And you're whining about your mother. I pay you, so you'll work when and as much as I say, got it." Jessica, shocked to the core, stared at this unprovoked, cruel outburst from William, her eyes wide with horror. Jack hesitated for a split second, his face turning to stone. Then he silently turned the car and drove to the required address. The car was filled with heavy, oppressive silence. Now Jack's phone beeped. He quickly touched his earpiece and answered the call. Hello. What? She's worse. I'm coming. I'll be there soon. He slammed on the brakes. The car stopped dead in the middle of the road. William and Jessica were thrown against the backs of their seats. What are you doing? Trying to kill us. Jack flung open his door and jumped out of the car. Screw you, he shouted, already running away. William, red with rage, scrambled out after him. Stop. I said stop. I'll find you. That was the breaking point. The last straw. Jessica no longer hesitated. She just as quickly opened her door and ran out onto the noisy street. And where are you going? Jessica. Are you crazy? William shouted after her, confused and angry. Give back the pendant. But Jessica didn't hear him anymore. She was running, trying to catch up with Jack. Jack? Jessica called, trying to be heard over the roar of cars, chasing after the quickly disappearing figure of the driver. Hearing her desperate cry, Jack opened the door of a stopped taxi, waited for Jessica, and together they sped off, disappearing into the flow of traffic. At the hospital, after talking to the doctor, who said Jack's mother needed surgery, Jack looked completely crushed. Jessica had nowhere to go in this strange, cold city, and after a moment's hesitation, Jack invited her to his home, where he lived with his mother. In his small apartment on the outskirts, she was finally able to breathe after everything she'd been through. They sat in the modest kitchen over cups of cold tea. Jessica remembered the doctor's words. She needs urgent surgery, the cost about $30,000 or $40,000. The sum seemed astronomical. Of course, neither Jack, who worked as a simple driver, nor Jessica, who after her vacation in the warm countries was almost out of money, had anything close to that amount. Jack made up a bed for her in his mother's room, and took the old, sagging sofa in his own small room. The next day, Jack, with a worn gray face and red, sleepless eyes, announced that he would go try to collect money. From friends, acquaintances, anyone, even a little bit. But both of them understood that the chances of raising such a sum this way were almost zero. Jessica felt genuinely, tearfully sorry for Jack and his mother. But she felt completely helpless. Remembering the romantic vacation in the warm countries with William, the luxurious villa, the attentive staff, she suddenly felt so disgusted at the thought that she'd had any kind of relationship with that man that a lump rose in her throat. With sudden resolve, she quickly split the pendant in two, took out the flash drive, and decided to plug it into Jack's laptop on the table. A folder appeared on the screen called My Baby. Jessica involuntarily smirked. Opening the folder, she began scrolling through photo after photo. There they were on the yacht, by the pool, in a fancy restaurant. Happy. But no, now William didn't look genuinely happy to her. In every photo, his face showed more the smug look of a man who owned an expensive toy. How had she not noticed it before? Jessica confidently deleted one photo after another. When the My Baby folder was empty, she noticed a remaining text file with a strange, faded name. She hadn't seen it before among the bright photos. Out of curiosity, Jessica opened it and saw a short string of numbers and below it, another looking like a password. The meaning was unclear to her. When Jack entered the room, Jessica, worried by her discovery, silently pointed to the laptop screen, where the mysterious file was open. Jack looked. That's a hidden file, he explained. My laptop shows them, I set it up that way. What's in it? He read the lines. His eyes widened. That looks like a safe deposit box number. And a password, he whispered, frowning. You know, we often went to a couple of banks in the city center. Maybe it's one of them? And I think I know which one. That same day, overcoming all doubts and fears, they went to that bank and, using the data from the flash drive, with trembling hands opened the safe deposit box. Inside, neatly stacked, was a heavy bag full of cash. The amount clearly exceeded what was needed for the surgery. That evening, the news reported a sensational story. William and several of his associates had been put on the federal wanted list for large-scale fraud. His empire, built on lies and other people's tears, collapsed overnight. William was arrested the next day at the capital's airport, where he was trying to flee the country on a private jet. The handcuffs on his well-manicured wrists looked especially ridiculous. Jack's mother had a successful operation. The doctors were optimistic. Jessica, after saying goodbye to Jack, returned to her hometown. She continued working at her old job in her small company. After this experience, her naive trust in fairy tale princes and expensive cars was gone for good. Friends, thank you for listening to this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, please like and leave a comment about what feelings and thoughts this story brought up for you. And of course, subscribe to the channel.